Well, good night, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with Andrae and Lyss Faith Ricketts of ALTTR Inc. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing all
How
right,
are
doing all right,
you?
can't complain.
Good. All right, so we're about to get into some questions. Now, you guys can choose to answer individually or together. First question, where are you from?
So,
Okay, so I'm from New York, been there, born and raised there, with a nationality of, or I should say ethnicity of Haitian. I'm of Haitian descent. We moved to Georgia 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and we're there, permanently there.
okay, and I'm from Jamaica, Queens, born and raised. And I actually lived right across the street from Jamaica Library, and one of the apartment buildings across the street from Jamaica Library, directly across the street from that bus station, the terminal. Like literally across the street from there, right next to the fish market.
Oh my goodness.
And then
all the locations.
I moved over to Rosedale from there, and then got married, and then moved down to Georgia.
Okay, cool.
Shout out to Brookville Park.
All right. All right. Okay, so before you guys started the business, what was your occupational background?
So you want to start? So I was an international business consultant. I worked for a company called Melissa and Doug as a consultant. My clients were all over the world, so had to pretty much help businesses grow, have a place in their market, but also outshine all the other companies. So sometimes there was conflict of interest, but I always find a unique place for them so that they can shine and also pull out the strongest points of their businesses so that they can grow exponentially.
I worked in healthcare since I graduated from college. Bless you.
Thank you.
I worked in healthcare since I graduated from college. I worked at St. Luke's and Roosevelt Hospital, or formerly St. Luke's and Roosevelt Hospital. I think it's now called Mount Sinai. I worked there as a insurance adjuster. I was the person that whenever you went to the hospital, I dealt with your insurance and the hospital, making sure that your information got wherever it needed to go so that it got to your insurance, so that the insurance can pay for your visit, your surgery, whatever the case may be. After that, I got a job working as a secretary in a home care agency. I moved my way up to managing the home care agency. And that's the last thing that I did before opening up the business.
Okay, cool. Now, how did you guys end up meeting each other?
I went to my friend Jamal invited me to a party with the I had just moved back to Queens from Suffolk County, and he brought me to a party on Saturday night, and I seen this girl. He was supposed to set up the audio system for the party. So while he was setting it up, he goes to this girl's house, who the party's for, and that's how I met her. And we met at the party.
Okay, cool. Now, why did you guys leave your jobs?
Well, when I started working there, the plan was never to be there long term. It was just to have the experience and be able to see exactly, because I went to business school first, and then I wanted to work for a high reputed company so that I can see exactly how it's run, but not only in a superficial way, but also be able to see like the background, what's going on, and how companies, how they can be successful. What are the mistakes they've made? What are the benefits? What are the opportunities, the threats, and stuff like that? So I wanted to be able to see that And then when I had the opportunity to see all that, which took about 3 years, you know, I knew that it was time for me to go. The plan was, once you get that experience, then you would be able to have the tools and the equipment to be able to open up my own business.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. Every time I was getting ready to go, so when I finally left, I was supposed to have left before that. But every time I had the conversation with them that I had to go, or that, you know, the time was, you know, expired, they would find ways for me to stay, you know, whether it be, you know, giving me a you know, better stationery, or up my pay. That was their way of keeping me. And finally, when God said, no, it's time to go, I realized, okay, I need to have that conversation with them. And they also saw that I was pulling away too. They saw that I wasn't really putting my all in it at a certain point. And that's when we separated.
For me, God told me that I was supposed to leave my job. What we were doing, we had just gotten married, so what we were doing wasn't working for, especially if we had kids. We didn't see each other. She had to be at work at 3 in the morning, or 4. You had to be at work at 4. And then she would leave work at 2. I had to be at work at 8, and sometimes I would leave work at 7. So when I come home, she's getting ready to sleep. I'm sleeping when she gets up to go to work. And so we never really saw each other. So even though it was good money, it wasn't anything that was like peace and family is worth more than all the money in the world. So prayed to God about it. God told me to leave, and I also didn't leave when I was supposed to leave. I was like, man, I need the safety of a job. I just got married. But God said, leave. So after dragging my feet, I finally left and started doing what he said to do.
Right, of course, of course. There's always a sign. Sometimes we don't pay attention to it at the exact moment, and then you realize, all right, this is getting old. It's time to move on to something different. And speaking of moving on, what led to the start of ALTTR Inc.?
Well, that very thing. God was like, you know, I want you to. Well, it's a long story, man. I had a situation before I met Liz where I wanted to. I didn't know what life had to offer. I actually wanted to commit suicide, and I just didn't want to live anymore. Everything was falling apart. I didn't see a purpose for me being on the earth. And I was in my basement one day. Everybody was gone. I was just like, God, if you can't show me that you're real, and if you can't show me that there is a reason for me to be breathing air that someone else can use and be useful using it, then there's no reason for me to live anymore. And at that moment, I felt like somebody hugged me, and I felt like the coldness that I felt on the inside, I felt it go away. I felt like somebody took it away. And from that day, I said, you know, God, whatever you want me to do, I'll do whatever you want me to say. I'm gonna say wherever you want me to go, I'll go. Just let me know, you know, I want to go around the world telling people who it is that you are. And if I could do that and just live life, be able to eat and provide for my family, just doing that, then I would do that for the rest of my life, even if I wasn't making money off of it. If I could just live, it's like the greatest joy that it is that most exciting thing that I can do is talk to people about Jesus. So that happened before I got, that happened right after I got out of college. I started talking in churches. I just met Liz at the time. I met her like a couple of weeks after that. And I started talking in churches. It wasn't really anything serious. I was just AYs that like somebody was supposed to do an AY and they didn't show up. Hey, Andre, if you just tap dance, I don't care. Just do something. I was like, all right, well, I started studying the Bible seriously this summer. So I'll just share with you a couple of things I've learned. So I started sharing things, and You know, as I'm talking, people's eyes started opening, like I've never seen that before. And when the first time I did that, I realized this was what my purpose was. This was the reason that God was telling me, I'm giving you a reason to live. And that was my reason for living. And like I said, it's like the greatest joy that it is that I have telling people about Jesus. So as the time goes on, I'm working at this job, and I get married to Liz, and God tells me before I leave to go to the wedding that I'm not supposed to work here anymore. I go to the wedding, come back from my honeymoon. Actually, my boss went to my wedding and demoted me at my wedding.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
demoted me at my wedding, and then when I got back, I still stayed. But then then God was like, you gotta go. So I decided, all right, I'm gonna leave. And I kid you not, the morning that I decided I was not going to leave, I was going to leave, I received one of the most strongest spiritual attacks that I've ever received in my life. And I don't really share this with a lot of people because they think I'm crazy, but that the time for like 3 years, I was when I decided, all right, I'm gonna take God seriously and change my life. I was being attacked at night by demonic forces. So I was too scared to sleep in my room. I had to sleep with the lights on, in the living room with the TV on. I was like super scared, like crazy things were happening to me. And that day, we had rented an apartment. Liz had left to go to work. I'm sitting there and I'm praying. I worship and praying. I'm like, all right, God, I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave the job. And it was early morning. I was like, all right, let me take a nap. Let me just nap on it, and then I'll write. And if I wake up and I feel the same way, I'm gonna write my resignation letter and email it, send it in. I went to sleep, and I woke up because I heard walking in the hallway, and there's nobody in our apartment. So I'm sleeping on my stomach. I try to get up. I cannot move. I know the feeling. I know what's happening. I know what's about to happen. I hear my door open. I hear my door creak open. And I hear footsteps walking towards the bed. And I just said, listen, man, whatever you came to do, just hurry up and do it. And as soon as I said that, like this force just grabbed my shoulders, my arms, and just started squeezing and pinning me down to the bed. And then I couldn't open my mouth, and I just started laughing because I knew, all right, so you're just confirming that the decision that it is that I made, that's what I'm supposed to do. And even though these people are offering me money and whatever, you're trying to hold me into this, and it's not the right thing for me to do. Right. And you're trying to scare me into staying at this place. And also, I'm not even gonna say that. So it just held, this thing just held me down. And when I chuckled, because I was like, oh, I found it funny that, all right, Satan is really scared of somebody like me, or like he has some kind of care about this situation that I don't leave this job, or he knows something about the purpose of my life. And when I chuckled, when I laughed, it just grabbed me harder. And then in my mind, I was just praying like, God, just help this thing to end quickly, because this is the hardest that I've ever felt. This is the most painful that it ever was. And when it was finished, I felt like I had swam like 50 laps. You know, when you come out of the pool after you swim and your whole body is just heavy? Right. I had to like sit on the bed for like 5 minutes to regain my strength. I got up, I called, I don't know if I called, I texted you, I told Liz what happened. And I was like, this is confirmation, I have to leave, I'm leaving. And that very day, I came up with the term ALTTR Inc. And I I did everything that needed to be done to open it. And then I sat down, and that very day, I got a desk, put it down next to my bed, got a chair, opened up my computer, and started writing my first book. And that's how it started. Because Satan didn't want me to follow my purpose. So I was like, all right, I gotta do this immediately. So as soon as I got off the bed after speaking with her, I sat down and started incorporation and everything, and then sat down writing my first book. Wow.
And when you think about that, yes, that your destiny was almost snatched away from the thoughts that you were having, from the depression that you were dealing with. And even way after that, same force tried to come back again and pin you down. but you knew this was confirmation from God that once you're getting ready to leave and start something new, especially something that's going to put you in a better position, the enemy is always going to come and try to attack.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a phenomenal story. Wow. The next question that I have now, I've noticed that you've done speaking engagements and you guys have gone all over the world and everything like that. But I want to know what led you to start doing photography.
Oh, well, there's a guy called Desmond Hunt that went to Linden Church, and he would bring me and my friend Philip on jobs, like videography jobs, photography jobs, and the passion for it just grew on me. And somebody from the church just, hey, just hang out with me, let me show you something. And it didn't help him in any way. He just wanted to impart something to the young people, any young person that wanted to be open to it. And he's a really, really, really cool dude, man. So Philip started it before me. He took all his money and invested it into getting photography and videography gear. And he has an awesome wedding videography business. And so I've seen him taking this training, and like 15 years have passed. And I was like, let me take this thing, let me try to do this thing. And when starting the ministry, I needed to do some videos. So I was praying to God, like, all right, give me a means to get video gear, and let me shoot these videos and show me how to edit the videos and everything. God gave me, allowed my brother, got my brother-in-law to lend me his Canon T3i. And so I started with the Canon T3i, shooting videos and doing photography here and there. And then a friend of mine named Marlo Scott, he invested in me and got me a big time camera at that time, Sony A7S II.
Wow.
And I started doing higher quality videos, and I started using it for photography. And I started getting good at the photography. I started doing photography for church, just like how you go and you do photography for churches, or you do photography for the church events.
Right.
Started like that. And then it started getting better. And then I got myself a second camera, which was a Sony A7R II. And then that just took my photography to the next level. And I just sat down and studied photography and studied editing. I went to YouTube University. And I would sit down and spend the entire day at my computer just practicing. And then I started getting jobs. And the more jobs I got, the more practice I got. The more jobs I got, the better it is that I got. And I decided, all right, you know what? Let me do this. I can make money off of this. So let me do this for real. And so I went off, tried to do it for real. I started working, and every year it gets better, and it's opened up doors for me that I wouldn't have anywhere else. It's like it's a passion. It's my passion. Like somebody who is in love with their art form. I love photography, so I wouldn't want to do anything else but that.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely seen the growth and maturation within your pictures and the video that you produce. I mean, I'm looking now and the video quality is amazing, and the picture quality, I'm like, man, this is stuff that you see in magazines. As a matter of fact, I think did you recently do a magazine cover? Did you shoot a magazine cover?
I was in Essence magazine. I didn't do the cover. I did a photo shoot for somebody who had an article done about them in Essence magazine.
Okay, Essence. Wow. Essence, y'all. Essence. Big time magazine. Well, when you work with God, big things happen.
Yeah.
Now, why was, and I hope that I'm saying this correctly, why was Detty Home Services created? Did I say it right?
Yeah, Detty Home Care Services.
Oh, okay.
So Detty Home Care Service, as you hear and understand, it's home care services. So we provide home care services to the elderly, and we also provide employment to those who are in need. So we help them get their certification as well, so that they can have also a place in the workforce. So how it was created. So first and foremost, my mother used to have the same business, more so private cases, years ago, more than 30 years ago. And I grew up seeing her in that industry, understanding it more by, hearing conversations, because I was pretty young. But as I was getting older, I was getting an understanding of what it was all about. So when she was leaving her business, she was retiring, she had asked me if I wanted to take over. And I told her no, because I didn't really like the way that she was always busy and she was always out and about. It was a lot to carry.
Right.
And I was also into law. So I wanted to pursue my law degree. With time, when God told me that law was no longer for me, and that it was not no longer, it was never for me, but I was so blindsided. I was pushing it so hard that I wasn't even hearing God say, this is not what you want. So when I finally, what you want to do, right? So when I finally heard it, I asked God, what do you want me to do? How? All I know is law. Why would you stop something now? I don't really know anything else. What are you gonna, what's the plan? And that's when he directed me into business school. And in business school, I knew what kind of business I wanted to open. I had the ideas. I presented to some of the teachers, some of the connects that I made. And when I came back home, even if the opportunity to to take on the business that my mom had was kind of like thrown out the window, I said, my husband and I, at the time were we married? When I came back from Spain? No, I was not married. So when he came back, when I came back from Spain, from business school, the opportunity again, because then the government was also giving the opportunity for more businesses to be open. So I said, let's hop on it. So that's when we said, what, let's do this. And we know that it's difficult. We know it's hard. We know it's going to require a lot of time, but this is something that I'm willing to do. The medical industry was not something that I thought I would be in, but I know how to run a business, and I know all the intricacies of the businesses and how to go about the marketing aspect of it, the financial aspect of it. And I wanted to use everything that I learned in my business school time, and also what I've seen from before. I wanted to use all of that, all my knowledge, all the tools into opening up and running this business. So, my husband, who was in the medical field, who was working in a home care agency before, had the medical side of it, the medical knowledge of it, and also had the experience with insurance companies. So when we put everything together, we realized that it was a great amalgamation. And it's been 5 years, almost 6 years that we've been running it.
Wow. Wow.
The license actually came when we came back from our honeymoon. I think the license for the business came when we came back from our honeymoon. And I was just God saying, all right, leave it. I'm telling you, leave your job.
There was a reason. If we were still working at the time that we got the license, we probably would have prolonged it. We probably wouldn't take it. We needed some time between leaving our jobs, or 9 to 5, quote unquote, and starting this business. We needed that time to kind of hear out what God was saying, that the direction we had to take, and the spiritual tools that we needed. We needed that space. And the only way for us to have had that space is if we had left on time. We would have had more time had we left the first couple of times God was saying go. But we finally left, and we thank God for that.
And it wasn't easy either. Being unemployed is not easy, but God provides. And I remember it took 2.5 or 3 years for the business to get up and running. And our first child was about to be born.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the day that she was born, we got our first case.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
First case. First case. And all this time, I'm like, this baby's about to come. don't have a job, and like I don't know what's gonna happen, and
Yep.
all this kind of stuff. And then we got our first case.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That's
And he's been providing since, and
I don't get scared much anymore, man. I seen God do some stuff. I got some stories, man. I seen God do some stuff. So when hard situations hit, it just it's more so annoying when hard situations hit
right.
rather than scary, because I know, all right, a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it's gonna change.
Mhm.
It's gonna be all right. At the end of it, it's just gonna be annoying going through it. So that time was annoying, man. I would not want to go back through it, but I'm happy that I did, or we did go through it.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Wow. That's talk about perfect timing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You just got your son. Yo, I got you, man. Don't worry about
Seriously. Seriously.
All right. So, whose idea was it to create the comprehensive learning course by Shay, Heaven, and Harmony?
Okay, so remember I was telling you from the beginning, I kind of knew what kind of business I wanted to
Right.
start. I definitely wanted, it wasn't solidified. Like I didn't have all the ideas in the beginning, but I definitely wanted something that was international where I can help children from all over the world speak different languages. And that was always, hovering over my head pretty much. And then with time, I was homeschooling my children, and I also teach them, I homeschool them in French, English, and Spanish, and Creole. And with these four languages, I realized that there wasn't really, a lot of people think, oh, if you teach different languages at the same time, that they're going to be backed up a little bit, or they're not really going to, grasp everything that they're being taught. And
Right.
it was the complete opposite of that. And also I grew up learning different languages at the same time. So I could have just used myself as an example, but I wanted to do it myself to make sure before I, encourage parents to teach different languages to their children. I wanted to know exactly what the strategies were.
Right.
So in these experiences, I learned so much, and I learned what works and what doesn't work. And I've been able to help many parents, even teachers, to learn to teach a foreign language aside from English, if English is their mother tongue, to their children. And
Right.
it's very effective. So I created this curriculum, which is a comprehensive learning folder, as you said, that is offered in different languages. So French, Spanish, Creole, and we're also in the process, depending on demand, of doing Mandarin Chinese, Hebrew, Italian, German. So once we get the demand, we already have it in place to be able to present these curriculums. So these curriculums, there's about 100 activities in there, and they're hands-on. So it's not like they're reading alone. No, they're literally taking pieces, putting them together, matching, counting, and building their knowledge bank to be able to know, for example, how to say car in four languages, and then with time, as you're going further into the binder, you're able to formulate sentences and you're able to speak. So the business is not only the learning folder. We also have flashcards, all of which will help the child be able to be multilingual. So that's what we're pushing, multilingualism. But this is not only to help you get a better job, which we already know it is. It helps you get a better job to see in your resume that you speak different languages. That's automatically attractive because they don't
they gonna pick you
over, yeah.
automatically.
Also, because then they won't have to hire three people, someone who speaks French, someone who speaks Spanish, someone who speaks English. They can just hire one person, so it benefits them as well. But then you as well, you're going to be able to get that check because you have so much value.
Yeah,
so it helps career-wise, professionally. But also what I also wanted, the angle that I also wanted to take is in a ministerial way, where if they're able to speak a language, they're also able to communicate and identify themselves to people who don't really speak English. They can travel the world, and that's another thing. As we're homeschooling, I also call it travel schooling. So we go over the world, and they, learn different things hands-on, not necessarily on a book, but they actually go to Morocco and they go to China and they go to, wherever else we're going with them, they'll be there and they're able to see these things that they once saw in a book, but now they're able to see with the naked eye. So that also is an avenue of business, pushing parents to travel with their children. Don't leave your children behind. Take them with you. They need to see what it is that you're seeing. They need to see, people of different values, of different norms, of different, mindsets. That's how they're able to embrace people's differences, because that's what Christianity is all about.
About that. And people think that, when you say that you travel with your family, and they'll say, well, I don't have the money to do that. And I understand that. Let me tell you, man, God can do anything, man. God can do anything, because we've been able to go to places. And I'll tell you, I got stories, man. If God wants you to go, he's gonna provide whatever means to send you there. And also, there are stigmas towards traveling where people think it's insanely expensive. It's really not. If you save a couple, like we did a tour of Southeast Asia,
right?
And it cost like I'd say $2,000 for 3 weeks, and you spend a year putting money together for $2,000 for 3-4 people. Like we were staying in Airbnbs that look like mansions for like $14 a night. So
and people are spending that for 3 days.
They're spending like $350 for hotel rooms. We're staying in houses. Like we stayed in a house in Malaysia that had 2 bedrooms. The sink is in the middle. The sink is there's like a glass fountain sink in the middle of the room. $40.
Wow.
And we stayed there for like three days. But you just have to know. You have to know how to travel. Also, you have to know how to look for flights. You have to know how to find affordable stays. You have to know how to budget when you travel. You have to know how to have an itinerary, not just going to travel and just figuring out what to do when you get there. You have to have a plan. All right, this is what we're doing when we get there, and this is the budget that we have to do that. And people spend more than that. Like driving down here to Texas and I went to New Orleans into Texas, and that's more expensive than me going to like Thailand.
Right.
So people have this stigma, man, where if would just focus our budget, our money properly, maybe get rid of a couple of subscriptions and put that subscription money into a certain account to go towards, if traveling is something that you want to do, let that money go to your travel account and let that build up for a couple of months. I guarantee you'll go on 2 vacations a year, 3 weeks, if you have the ability to spend the time doing that, or a week here, or a week and a half in this other country or that country. But it's just how we manage our money and how we go about traveling. We don't really have the understanding of how to travel.
Yeah, I think we're really big on culture. So we try to do things with the locals where we learn more about the locals' culture, which is also part of Share Heaven and Harmony, that we try to push and we try to, teach, because it's a mindset that needs to be changed, because what we were taught before is not what is being taught right now through Shea Heaven and Harmony. And there's other companies that teach the same thing. We're not like inventors, but we do want to help, especially people of our community, to see that we are capable of having access to that time of life, to that type of life, sorry.
All right, so for anybody that's watching, we have a few minutes left, but after this ends, I'm going to start another Zoom conference so that we can continue this interview. So while we're still on, the next question I want to ask was, what opportunities have you been given as a result of running your own business?
The biggest opportunity that both of us have been given is time.
Yeah.
Time is worth more than money. I've been able to see my kids grow. People have to drop the kids off at school or at the daycare or whatever, and they spend 8 hours at work. Then they got to travel 2 hours to get back home. Then they pick up the kids, drop the kids off, then they feed the kids, help them with homework, and then send them to bed. being able to work in my own business and being able to work from home, I've been able to spend like an ample amount of time with my kids. And before I had kids, that was my prayer. I was like, God, let me spend, give me the ability to have that time to be able to spend with my family. And even if they're not in my immediate area, they're there.
Yeah.
So, and I can just get up and, all right, just hop in the car and let's go wherever. And they know me.
Right.
Like my father had to work like 16 hours.
Wow.
And I didn't see him until Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saturday was like the time that I got, like the only time we sat down, we had Sabbath dinner, because he didn't go to church with us. When we come home, we have Sabbath dinner, hang out till Sabbath evening. That was my time with my father. But other than that, I didn't see him. He was working he get up at 6, come back home at like 12. So my thing was, man, I gotta be with my kids, man. I know how that feels. So,
and we could take vacations whenever, what makes sense to us. Like, we don't have to ask somebody, can we have vacation on this time?
Yeah.
So we, as a family, we're able to do things, collectively.
So that's the biggest opportunity, is just time. Time is, you lose time, you can't get it back. You lose money, you can get it back.
Right. And our children are able to see also like how it is to be an entrepreneur, because they see it every day. My daughter always asks me, like, when she sees the same, there's a screen when I'm doing payroll that she sees all the time, and she's always saying, who's this and who's that and who's this, and I have to explain to her, this is the person, this is an employee who works for us, who works for the company, and she's actually getting a sense of what it is to run a business very early on. So now when it comes time to her to make that decision, she has a concrete, how do I say, she has concrete things to actually, elements to be able to judge it and say, hey, I actually want to be an entrepreneur too, or this is not for me.
That was the same with me and my father. He helped start the van business. So I saw him do that. And then I was like, man, he's like, I never want to work for nobody ever again. So I want to make this thing work. And now the van business is like one of the biggest transportation businesses in New York.
Right.
And I was like, from that age, I was like, I don't want to work for nobody. And it's not for me being cocky or anything. It's just, I don't like working for people. I don't like being told I have to do this, or I got to be here at a certain time, or
exactly. Clock in.
I don't like.
You only got 15-minute lunch. You gotta come back to.
And that's not knocking anybody.
I'm not knocking anybody who doesn't.
Just
me personally.
Right. Everybody has their own, what they're able to do and what's not for them.
I go crazy, man. I go crazy. Just thinking about it and what I used to do, I don't want to go back. I pray to God every day I don't have to go back.
Right. Now, the next question that I'm going to ask is, what role does faith play in your business?
It's everything. It's everything, because the success of your business is not you.
All right. So let's just continue from where you was it
ministry? Like faith. You were talking about faith.
Okay. So
he's coming. He's right there. He's coming.
Okay.
But yeah, so throughout our whole process of owning a business and dealing with or confronting with so many challenges and stuff like that, one thing that God has warned us and before had told us is that we're going to need a lot of faith, believe and trust and have crazy faith is what I call it, because a lot of the things he's going to present to us is going to look crazy and sound crazy. And if we don't have what it takes, which is that faith, then we might run away, or we might, get discouraged and so forth. As a matter of fact, God had taught us for all of the businesses that we own is that if it's not scary, it's not it. Whatever God has for you, whatever vision he has for you, it's supposed to be scary because it's supposed to be bigger than you, right? So as soon as I start, and I always get that feeling, as soon as I get the feelings of like, oh my goodness, it's getting closer. Oh my goodness, I know I'm going the right way. So it's just that I need to continue carrying those tools and reading my word and worshiping and asking God to continually pour into me the things that I need, because I'm dealing with people here. This is still ministry. I'm dealing with workers. I'm dealing with clients. I'm dealing with people, contractors, and they need to be able to see Jesus in me, in the way that I act, in the way that I speak, in the way that I operate my business. So if I don't know the word of God, if I don't know Jesus, I'm going to find myself just being me. And being me is what is detrimental. That's the sinful part of it. Exactly. So it's very important for you to continue sharpening your faith and sharpening each other. Being married is also another I would say it's hard. We're married and we both have the same passion, and there's a lot of things, there's character flaws that comes in the way. So that in of itself, we need to have a personal, prayer life as well, to ask God, okay, I need to be a good example for him. He needs to be a good example for me and everyone else.
Right.
So, yeah.
There's a Bible verse that says, unless the Lord builds a house, those who build it in vain. So anybody can build a business, but businesses fail at an exponential rate every year. And building a business is not 100%. It's not 100% guaranteed that it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So you have nothing else but to have faith. But when you do it, when God is giving you, because the gospel it speaks to every aspect of our life. The gospel is a business. God is a business manager, and God gave Adam and Eve the business of running this world. They were the managers of this world. So the gospel is nothing but a business, and we were created to own. We were created to run and own everything. Believers in God are created to run and own everything. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I stick to that. I believe that we're supposed to be the heads and not the tail, and that we're supposed to live and act like that. So we're supposed to go out into this world as leaders, as the creators, as the people who put the content out there, the people who build industries. And that's another means for us spreading the gospel. But in doing that, you're stepping out into this realm where you can fail, and when you fail, you can lose everything. Right. So when you're going out, the success of the business is not your responsibility. The success of the business is God's responsibility. You just are supposed to do what he called you to do. So if he said, hey, Andre, open up that photography business and start promoting the photography business and start working on your photography and your editing skills. All right, that's my responsibility. Me bringing you the clients and me bringing success to you, because there's like 50 million photographers who are 10 times better than me. But I'm going to open the doors for you. I'm going to put you in spaces where people are going to want you over all those other people. Exactly. So the success is his responsibility. Me being prepared for that is my responsibility. When he said to open ALTTR Inc., the ministry, he said, all right, my plan is I saw it as clear as day. You're going to be going to obscure places in the world and sharing the gospel with people, but you need to prepare for that. So while I'm setting all this up for you, I'm setting all that up, you need to sit down and you need to study, spend time with me, so that when you go out there, you're prepared to tell people about me. You know who I am, and you're prepared to tell people about me. So I had to sit down and I had to prepare for what he was setting up. And if I'm prepared to go out into the space that he's prepared for me, the success of it is his responsibility. So I have to have faith that whatever he's called me to do, he's already taken care of. Yep. If he called me to do photography, he's already set up a space and a platform for me to have it. If he's called me into ministry, he's already set up a space and a platform for me to be successful in it. If he's called us to do home care, if he's called Liz to do education, whatever the case may be, he's created the space for us. We just have to have faith that that's what he's called us to do and prepare for it. It's like, look at what's his name in Egypt when his brother took it, kidnapped, put him in the pit. Joseph, yeah. Joseph going into Egypt. God created a space for him in Egypt, but he had to be meticulous in everything that it is that he did. And in those years of being meticulous in Potiphar's house, and in the years of being meticulous in jail, even in jail, he was diligent about his work. People could now talk about him, and God had already prepared this table for him when he got to that point. When he prepared himself enough to be able to get to that point, all right, Now you're second in command in Egypt.
Yeah, this is the reason why we don't knock down like 9 to 5 jobs, because I do believe that when you take these 9 to 5 jobs, you're supposed to be able to take
Prepare.
on, and all these things that you're learning,
Learn.
you're using these places, these platforms to be able to receive and learn and build, and then use all that information to create your own. Right. And then whatever else, God is going to give your way, and create your own. So those 9 to 5s are important, but
Very important.
it doesn't have to stop there. Right. You take it, and whomever was, owned the business that you worked in knows that as well. He went to school, he got all the information, then he opened his own. Now it's your turn to take whatever you need to learn from your place, where your workplace, and then move on to building your own.
Yeah, like I worked in healthcare. I started in a hospital in a small job, and I learned all that I could about insurance. As I learned all that I could about insurance, I started working in a home care agency as just a secretary. And then I took that information that I learned about working with insurances to the home care agency, and they saw that I had a knowledge of things. They began to promote me to dealing with the insurance for our like 150 clients for on the Medicaid side. Then as I got better with that, they put me onto the Medicaid and managed care side. As I got better with that, they were like, all right, listen, you're gonna co-manage with one of the managers. One of the managers left, I became manager. Then they brought somebody else in. Then they were going to split the business into 3 and give me 1/3 of the business, give that person 1/3, give that person. And then I decided to leave. And then I end up owning my own home care agency, because I took all that knowledge that I had from when I started 6 years previous to that in the hospital, then going to this home care agency and learning everything about the home care business. And now I have my own. So again, God's preparing you. He's prepared something for you, but there's a preparation stage. You got to prepare yourself. Sometimes it might take a couple of months. Sometimes it may take a couple of years. For David, it took Joseph, it took a number of years. For Abraham, it took a number of years. For Jacob, it took a number of years. For us in our youth, especially in our youth, this is the preparation time. And when we're like 17, 18, this is the time where not just have fun, but not just to have fun, but beyond going to school, prepare for that purpose, like learn the purpose that God has for you and start learning everything about it, so that when you get to that point where God is, all right, here you go, you're prepared to take it. If you're not prepared to take it, God can't say, here you go. He can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, every step there's an amount of faith that you need to have. God is trying to move you up to every step, but you need to be able to slowly and wisely take on everything that God is teaching you, so that you can move on to the next step and move on,
It's a school of the hard knocks, man. Really like God doesn't give anything away for free. He gives things to people who deserve it. And if you sit down and you're diligent about it, you sit down and you're studious about it, you want it, you really, really want it, and you're going to give everything for what God has for you, then he'll give it to you.
Right. I totally believe in that. Now, this is my final question. I actually had 2 more questions, but they're kind of the same thing. They both deal with the future. So what I wanted to ask was this: where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Wow. That's a tough question. In the next 10 years. So, okay. So honestly, the plan is for me, I don't want to run these businesses so closely in 10 years. I want to be able to hire my team to be able to continue to run the business as I am more focused on other things, on ministry, on traveling. I mean, I still could do these things now, but I think that if I get the right team to be able to run with this, and also pass them down to my children, the tools to my children, I can now live a life that is adequate for for those 10, in 10 years, what God wants for me. I do believe that it's important for you to pass the baton. For me to hold on forever and ever and ever, I'm going to get tired. right? And nobody's benefiting from it if I'm not teaching someone, the next person, how to take over. So in 10 years, I do believe that I'm gonna be what, 45. I'm hoping to live a more relaxing and peaceful, but I will make sure that I am teaching the next generation, not only my children. It's not only about my children. It's about the next generation in my community, the next generation, in my surrounding, the next generation, maybe not in my community, in maybe my church, whatever the case. I want them to be able to keep going.
I have a clear vision of where I see myself in 10 years. I believe that Lyss's curriculum will it will be picked up by somebody, and it will be distributed throughout the world.
Amen.
So I can sit back, and my vision for the next 10 years is to be able to focus solely on ministry, to be able to have a foundation where we're supported financially, because we've tried to maximize all the gifts and the talents that it is that we have and monetize it, and not just monetize it for the means of money, but also using it to glorify God's name. So I'm going to use photography to glorify God's name. She's going to use the education thing to glorify God's name. The home care agency is going to be used to glorify God's name. So to glorify God, but also to monetize it and use that money as a foundation to be able to have a safety net, so that, all right, I'm just going to focus on ministry only completely, because Jesus is coming soon.
He is.
And getting the message out there is all that matters. And not saying that I am this righteous and perfect person, but even if it is that I don't make it, that a message, my life was used to help get somebody there. And for all the things that God has done for me, the least that it is that I can do is to give some time to share him with others. And we have the greatest means of like, if the apostles had the internet, all of us would be Christians, man. Like they didn't have to spend a month sailing from one place to the next to go speak to people.
Right.
Like they turned the world upside down on foot and on ships. Imagine if they had planes. Imagine if they had the internet. Imagine if they had Zoom and Skype and all these things.
Right.
And me, I don't have Rome running down my neck, trying to kill me for talking about Jesus. And I can't pick up my Bible and I can't read it, and I can't take an hour out of my day to put something out on the internet that's going to be watched by a couple of thousand people, and maybe a couple of them, the Holy Spirit may grab a couple of them and bring them into the fold. So I want to spend the majority of my time doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. This has been a very, very insightful interview. For those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, shame on you, because you should have been at. This is the only place you should have been at. I want to thank my very special guests, Andrae and Lyss Ricketts of ALTTR Inc. and Detty Home Care Services. My next interview is going to be in a few weeks. But until then, thank you guys once again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I wish you guys a blessed night. And take care, everyone. Peace.
All right, we apologize for coming late, man. We apologize, man.
It's okay. You know, I didn't remind you, so I figured, okay, maybe they had something to do or something came up. You know?
We can't look you over, man.
No.
We can't look you over, man. We can't look you over,
No.
Thank
you again.
No
You're
problem,
welcome.
no
You're
problem.
welcome. All right.
All right,
bye.
Happy 4th.
All right. Happy 4th.